right, good morning, everyone. We are going to get started with your second iTalk. We're very pleased to see so many people here today. We were a little worried as the evening went on last night that it was going to be a pretty small crowd, but glad to see so many people here to learn from Claudia and I about the myths of consumer centricity. So I want to step back in time 22 years ago. I entered into a classroom at the Harvard Business School. A gentle giant stood in the front of that classroom, 203 centimeters tall, the late, great Professor Clayton Christensen. He was teaching for the first time a class called Building and Sustaining a Successful Enterprise. About a third of the way through the class, he introduced a simple, powerful, transformational idea, the idea of the job to be done. Watch this video.
Over 30,000 new consumer products are launched each year. The fact is that over 90% of these new products fail. 90%. That's after marketing professionals have spent large amounts of money trying to understand their customers' every want and need. Why is that? It's the marketer's task to understand the jobs that arise in customers' lives and exactly what customers are trying to get done when they purchase a certain product. In a sense, they hire products to do the job for them.
Such a simple idea, but one that we have found in the last 20 years transforms the way you think about strategy, transforms the way that you think about innovation. What Claudia and I will do in the next 13 minutes is we'll take turns dispelling 3 key myths that make it hard to be a consumer-centric organization and give you practical tips for how you can get started. Claudia.
Thank you, Scott. So the first thing is that we all believe that we know our consumer. And if you think about it, even the name of the industry has consumer in it, right? But how much do you really know your consumer? If I ask anybody here in this audience to tell me about your consumer, I'm sure you're going to tell me how many you have, where they are, do they have kids, income level, how much they spend in your product, in your competition, their favorite TV show, and the list will go on and on. But we're drowning in data, and the more data we have, the less we actually know where to be focusing on. The important thing here is to know why your consumer is buying your product versus other choices. Let's have an example. I'm going to talk about Pampers and the launch of Pampers in China in 1998. P&G saw an amazing market, millions of babies born every year. And of course, with every baby born, the need for many, many, many diapers. We all know how convenient disposable diapers can be. So P&G really thought that Chinese moms were going to jump at the opportunity to get their hands on a disposable diaper at the right price. But after the launch, it was a really terrible flop. It didn't work out. And I think what happened here, they were trying to really understand what the consumer really wanted. And it turned out that the Chinese parents were pretty okay with their current choice. And they were not really looking for convenience. Actually, when we went even deeper and understand what was going on, when you compare the way the Western culture and the Chinese culture thinks about potty training, there are a lot of differences. In China, you can think about potty training as early as 6 months old. They put the babies on these open pants. They are called kaidanku, and they actually literally mean split crotch pants. And so the parent can take the baby when the baby needs to go. They don't need to unfasten anything, put the baby on the toilet, and that's it. It's done. So P&G really wanted to understand from this failure and get deeper into the motivations of Chinese parents. What problems were they trying to solve? What goals did they want to achieve? And it turns out that one of their main concerns was helping their children secure their academic success, because there was a lot of competition on Chinese schools and universities. Now, you may ask, what do disposable diapers have to do with university diploma? So let's look into that. Procter & Gamble partnered with the Beijing Children's Hospital to assess the impact of baby sleep of diapers on baby sleep. And what they found out is that when they put the baby on a disposable diaper, they were able to fall asleep 30 minutes faster and stay asleep 30 minutes longer. Anybody here with kids, with babies, you know how precious having that extra time is. And not only that, but the longer a baby sleeps, the better the learning. So they were able to make that connection and understand that for parents, their priority job wasn't about help me clean up after my child, but it was actually help me secure my child's success. They launched a campaign that was very successful in 2007, the Golden Sleep campaign, that made that connection very clear, the impact of Pampers on baby sleep and academic achievement. So while you may know your consumer, you need to understand that data is not insights, and correlation is not causation. And without understanding the why, we really are just guessing.
And this is why the idea of the job to be done is so powerful, because it gives you that causal connection that leads a consumer to take action. This is the way we define a job to be done. It is the problem a consumer is trying to solve, a goal they are trying to achieve. Clay would always talk about a quote from Ted Levitt, a guru of marketing at the Harvard Business School a generation ago. People don't want a quarter-inch drill, they want a quarter-inch hole. Now, of course, you know, no one really wants a quarter-inch hole. There's other things they're trying to do. Maybe it's a functional job of hanging a picture. Maybe it's an emotional job of feeling better about their place, or a social job of having the mother-in-law come in and look a little bit more satisfied than she usually does. Once you get this definition, you understand what a consumer-centric organization looks like. Everything is oriented around this. The decisions you make are all about unearthing and solving those jobs to be done. Now, note in the definition here, a defined set. Strategy is always about choices. You can't do everything for everyone. You have to think about the future environment and what jobs you're really going to excel at. Okay, you say, that's simple enough. We've got this. We have consumer in the name of our industry. We probably have consumer centricity as one of our values. That is not enough. Don Sull from MIT did a fascinating stream of research. He looked at all the values that companies espouse that are listed on their website, maybe even etched in granite on their wall, and then found digital breadcrumbs through Glassdoor and other places to see what behaviors are actually being followed inside companies. He found that there essentially was no relationship between what you say your values are and what are the behaviors that you actually follow. We learned this lesson in a project we were doing with DBS Bank, the largest bank in Southeast Asia, primarily a consumer bank, so relevant for this industry. It was on a transformation journey. It wanted to go from being a bank that moves slowly to being a tech company that happened to provide financial services and acted like a 28,000-person startup. Very bold ambition, a lot of technology behind it. Leaders were walking the talk, and they were stuck, because they had to overcome a hidden barrier to change, the shadow strategy, the irresistible pull of yesterday. We hired a cartoonist to illustrate some of the challenges they faced. Scenes like this occurred all the time within DBS. We know if we're going to move nimbly, we have to be consumer-centric. But you have a woman going into a meeting to talk about consumer centricity when the consumer is on the line. The pull of today gets in the way of doing the things you need to do tomorrow. There's an answer to this. As we worked with DBS, we came up with a hack that we call BEANS, behavior enablers, artifacts, and nudges, to overcome that inertia and encourage new behaviors. If you want to encourage consumer centricity, think about what Amazon does, leaving an empty seat in every meeting to remind people the most important person, the consumer, isn't in the room, or what OXO does. It has a wall of lost gloves to remind people that its appliances and utensils have to fit lots of different hand shapes and sizes. Through systematic programmatic intervention, DBS has gone from being the laggard in its local market to a bank that today is regarded not as the best bank in Singapore or Asia, but the best bank in the world. Paul Cobbin, the Chief Data and Transformation Officer and the co-author of our recent book, Eat, Sleep, Innovate, summarized his learnings this way. You can spend all you want on technology, but nothing changes unless people's behavior changes. So it's great that we've got core values, but actions always speak louder than words. We have to figure out ways to make this a day-to-day lived behavior.
The last topic I want to talk about, can you hear me? Yeah, no. The last myth I want to talk about, it's about innovation and how in many organizations they believe that if they get the innovation team right, then they are a consumer-centric organization. And to some extent, having a great product, it's not sufficient. You really need the whole company around to be able to secure success. And let me give you another example. And this time I'm going to go to coffee. We have coffee everywhere here. And so we're going to talk about Nestle. So back in 1938, Nestle launched instant coffee. And it was a quite success. It was very good tasting, and it went really well. And back then, later on, in the 70s, the R&D department decided to file a patent for a machine that was able to produce this perfect cup of coffee with a top, with a crema on the top, which was really the holy grail for coffee lovers. But the problem with this was that it was a great product, great option, but it was the coffee and a coffee machine. And what does Nestle know about making coffee machines? Not much. So the company decided to put this great idea on the side, make it a low priority, and keep on going with Nescafe. It was doing really great. So it really took more than just a great product to make Nespresso a $6 billion success. So how did they get started? Let's see. Well, of course, they just got George Clooney, and that was it. What else, right? But no, so marketing was, of course, a critical component of this launch. But among the things that they put in place, the first thing they did, they created a completely new business unit, Nespresso, separate from Nescafe, their core business in coffee, right? And the second thing that they did, not only that, they actually changed the strategy, and they anchored on the idea of delivering a premium espresso experience to consumers, to make them feel like a barista at home. The third thing they did, of course, they had to solve the coffee machine problem, so they signed partnerships with coffee machine manufacturers. And then they did something that was very unusual for consumer goods back in the late 80s, which is they opened retail stores to demonstrate the machine. They hired baristas, and then people could taste the product. And then they also had a direct-to-consumer business, which, again, consumer good companies were not doing that. And so with all in all, they took multiple areas on the organization to make Nespresso a success. And not only that, but they were able to learn from the experimentation that it took to do direct-to-consumer. And later on, Nestle had the courage and the trust that they could experiment for other business units and new business models that they launched later on. So you can have a great innovation team, but innovation cannot be by itself. It's not the only success. You really need to think about the whole company, your strategy, your marketing plans, your sales departments, and so on, to be customer-centric. What I want to talk about next is how do you then get started? There's a lot that you can do. And so how do we do this? So it takes a system of enablers. It's not just one single thing. So the first thing, Scott talked about it, right? It needs to be part of your strategy, and it should be reflected on your mission, your vision, your strategic plan. Not only that, but then consumer centricity should become your North Star. It is something that everyone in your company can tell you what is the priority job you're solving for. They speak the same language, they share the mindset, and their behavior then reflects it. The capabilities that you need have to be in place. And those capabilities include being able to connect well with your consumers, generate insights, and turn them into solutions or experiences that address priority jobs for your consumers. And lastly, it should really guide your operating model. It is how you measure success, how you allocate resources, how you make decisions. I mean, it's a lot, right? But it's important that you, as a leader in this group and in your organizations, make consumer centricity a priority. Pick a place where you can start, make it well, and then you can scale more broadly.
We have a little one-page card that our colleagues have in their hands that they're going to hand out that summarize what we've talked about here. So appreciate everyone's attention as we've gone through the myths of consumer centricity and the idea of the job to be done. Let me go back to the beginning. 22 years ago, I first met Clayton Christensen. 22 years ago, he founded our organization. 2 years ago, sadly, he passed away at the too young age of 67. We are proud to continue to carry the torch, to empower forward-thinking organizations to navigate disruptive change and own the future. We have heard the agenda during this conference. We have to collaborate to win. We have to address sustainability. We have to meet consumers where they are. We have to fight against inflation. We have to deal with all the issues that exist in the world today. We have to lead with courage. We hope the ideas that we've talked about here help you turn today's ambiguity into tomorrow's opportunity. Thank you very much, and good luck.